What is up, Husker Nation? Welcome to the Big Red Nation channel. My name is Jason, and let's talk about it. In fact, we're going to talk about college football playoffs. We're going to be talking about transfer portal chaos. We're going to be talking about Husker basketball, still undefeated, 15-0. Great win on the road against Ohio State on Monday night. What a great game that was, considering the fact that I don't think the Husker guys played really one of their better games. I think it was one of their worst, to be honest. Not maybe not one of their worst, but definitely they did not have their A+ game in that. Rank really kind of struggled. Price struggled almost all game. But the guys just locked in and never like wavered. And even whenever all of a sudden they were down, like it was great. And crazy enough, except for that last part there in the second half where they did eventually go down for a little bit, I still felt like Nebraska kind of uh, owned that game. Like they were always in control. And just, yeah, good game. Another great win. Now we got Indiana on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Man, I mean, it's going to be crazy. It I think I saw somebody where they were even like projecting Nebraska to possibly be a 1 seed. I don't I don't know, man. Just the fact that that's even if that's just like clickbaiting, I don't care. Like the fact that Nebraska has put themselves in that position to be clickbaited like that. What a great. I never thought I'd see the day with Husker basketball being the way that they are right now. It's been so much fun to watch. So much fun. But you know, well, there's not a whole lot to chat about with that game. It was back and forth. Again, it's just that team plays so well together as a team. But I think, what's been happening, especially in the last 24 hours, I think everybody's here to chat about what in the hell is going on with college football, and specifically with the transfer portal and uh, NIL and all this just crap. I mean, just is it? It's guilty pleasure stuff, to be honest with you. That's kind of how I almost feel with it as far as a fan, because there's part of me that's like, it's very intriguing, right? Oh my God, what about the rumors? I want to hear about the rumors. Let's sign up and get on the forums, and I want to hear all the juicy possible rumors or this and that. Where's this guy go? Where's that guy going? Who's got the money? Who's spending money? Who's doing money under the table? But at the same time, you're also like, you kind of feel dirty about it, you know? Like it's like if you're just a big fan of like a really bad, trashy reality show. That's kind of how it feels, paying attention to a lot of this stuff. And one of the things that kind of come to mind is this whole Damon Williams situation. I saw a clip from Bill Bush on his morning show on the Ticket with Sip and Jake Sorensen, and he actually said something that I totally agree with. Um, and it's that let's hope that this happens. This will be hopefully a good thing for college football. The whole Damon Williams thing, him signing a contract, like a fully thing contract, get out of it, or just like a couple days later, just now I'm just getting out of this contract, I'm just gone, and then goes plays for another team, because hopefully this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and will finally force these conference commissioners, ADs, presidents, guys in the NCAA to finally do something about all this stuff and get this thing under control. The whole Kenny Minchie thing, that's just, to me, the Minchie thing that happened in Nebraska, it's not the same as Damon Williams' situation, because he never came in, he never signed anything, he just committed. Be no different than whenever a guy that we're recruiting at a high school decommits, right? It was just kind of odd on the timing and how everything went down. And also, we're used to things happening so quick whenever it comes to the transfer portal stuff, that usually if you see somebody commit, they commit like they're there. They're not then turning around and going somewhere else because they want find a team as quick as possible. The teams want to find their guys as quick as possible, so then you can get on campus as quick as possible because you only got a couple weeks before you can enroll, so then you're eligible for the season. So whenever you see guys decommit, it's rare. So that's why it kind of has this little funky sting to it. But the Demond Williams thing, man, like that is to me a perfect example of what all this in frame is teaching. I'm not gonna say kids because they're not necessarily kids, but they're young men. What all this stuff is teaching young men. And there's been plenty of people who are always told, you guys are just old, you're old heads, you guys don't, welcome to the new age. It's not really what's happening. Just, it's about time that players got what they deserve because they're the ones out there busting their ass and putting the product on the field. They should earn something. And I don't think really necessarily anybody is saying that they shouldn't earn something or shouldn't be able to earn something. I think so. I've always thought that. Now, I thought a free college education is pretty good, but I totally understand saying that, hey, we're putting our bodies on the line. Let's say you're in college and you have a career-ending injury. You can never go do anything that maybe you could have without that injury, right? You couldn't have had that same level of life, right, if you would have never gotten injured. So what I've always thought is I have no problem with teams being able to sell jerseys with names on it. You should be able to get money from your name and likeness being in a video game. You should be able to go out and sign autographs and have autograph signings or go talk to schools or whatever and have a fee for it. If you're in college and you want to come up with a self-titled, like a biography style book or something, do it. Make some money off of that. You should be able to go do commercials for local businesses. Go make money off of that. I have no problem with any of that stuff. But again, I think it gets really tricky if you want to make these players employees of the university. So I don't think that's a way to go with it. So now you have this situation where they're getting a revenue share and or they're getting money, just basically money to play from boosters. And I think that's where we're in this just kind of Wild West. And if this is the way we're going to do it, you got to have structure, you got to have guidelines, and you got to have laws in place, or else things are just going to get crazy. Like I said, everybody's just going out, and it's not every player either, by the way, but it's a good chunk. And I think the more and more that these players are doing this, the young kids coming up that are in junior high and high school right now are going to be like, hey, that's okay. Look what they did. And he's one of my favorites, and I'm going to go do what he did. I'm going to chase the bag. I'm going to go do this, this, and this. I mean, we're teaching them that word and honesty and loyalty doesn't mean anything. And I don't want to hear, okay, I hate the argument of, well, coaches do it because they're adults with a job. That is their job. There's no different than if you work at Jiffy Lube, right? And AutoZone is like, hey, come work here and we'll pay you more. We'll give you a promotion. You're going to quit that job and go work there. That's what coaches have done. That's what coaches do. They have, either paid their dues or they've played the game or they haven't played the game, but they've worked their way up in coaching and that they've just elevated themselves due to hard work. And that's what they go do. At the end of the day, this still should be kids going to school because guess what? Just like I was talking about with the career-ending injuries, yes, maybe you could have gone on and been in the NFL and you were that good, but unfortunately had that career-ending injury and it happened in college, right? That is very unfortunate. But you know what college is also there for? To help you have a good career in something other than the sport that you're playing. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to help promote to these players that there's more to life than the sport that you're playing. And that goes for any sport. Because guys, regardless if you get hurt in college, you get hurt if you do make the pros, or you just find out you're not that good enough to make the pros. Like, it's not a good sustaining life being that mid to late 20s, early 30s guy still trying to go play in the random semi pro league or the arena football league, or still trying to do different things and barely making it by and having a real rough life and never knowing where your next paycheck's coming from because, oh, I got to settle for making a minimum of whatever playing for the UFL. How about whenever you get out, go establish yourself, go get yourself a career, get yourself a family, and be a citizen that provides for the country. Like, whatever, however you want to put that. Like, that's a great life. Trust me, I love doing that. All right. Like, I don't think that it's a terrible thing for people to promote that athletes should also want to do that other thing instead of being the guy that's limping around because you got a bad wheel. You're still giving yourself, brain damage from all the football that you keep trying to play, but you're never going to get to the NFL. But you keep playing at this semi-pro league or this arena league or this other league or whatever, this flag football league, whatever it may be. But man, I got way off track. Just big rant there. But anyway, so the transfer portal stuff, again, like I said, this is just kind of getting insane. We need to bring some stuff into it. If you are signing people to contracts, you need to be binded by that contract, just period. You sign a contract, you have to honor it. That's what the point of a contract is. And if we're not going to, and I know a lot of this comes down to the courts. If the courts is not going to allow these contracts to be binding, then what the hell are we doing? What's to stop anybody? How is a letter of intent binding? How is any of this stuff binding? So now what they're going to set precedent for is just literally anybody can do whatever the hell they want. And that is not good. That's not sustainable. It's just not. I mean, I understand these universities and the athletic departments rake in a ton of cash, and I totally get that. But you know what? They also have stadiums to run, right? They have other jobs inside the athletic department that they have to pay. And that includes maintenance workers, includes custodial people, includes, again, the people that work in the stadiums, the people that work in the arenas, people that work concessions, people that do all this stuff, right? That all goes to that. There's a ton of this stuff. A lot of the money that football players make or that the football team creates or rakes in also helps to pay for people that, like, I don't know, are on the bowling team or run cross country or row or do rifle or whatever else, because those aren't revenue bringing in sports. They have to get their money from somewhere. So, it's just one of those things of like, you can't also keep paying all those things and then go pay $5.5 million in 1 year for a quarterback. Like, NFL barely even does that. And these are guys that are legit, somewhat proven. We're paying kids that aren't even proven in college football this amount of money, and that's insane. That's just insane to me. If they did a thing where, look, you get paid this certain amount of money. If you're a freshman, you get this much. Sophomores get this much, blah, blah, blah. And then you can even break that down into certain positions and however else you want to break that down. But that money goes to a insurance account, savings account, whatever you want to call it, that you can accrue. And then at the end of your playing career, you get that lump sum, and then you can use that for your future endeavors. Whether it's you retire or you get kicked off the team, however that may be, you get the money that you have earned from your playing time. You get it whenever you happen to be done for whatever reason, and then you can use that to go for your future life. I think that's a good idea. I think that helps kids still. I think it still helps the purity of what college football is. The reason why a lot of people fall in love with college football is because it's usually a bunch of kids. And a lot of times it's a bunch of kids that are from the same area that the school happens to be around. They love the school. So they're playing for the colors. They're playing for the school. They're playing for the state. They're playing for the name on the jersey on the front. They're not playing for the name on the back. And there's just this extra amount of passion that you just don't get in pro sports. Now there is plenty of passion in pro sports, but it's different. It's just totally different. It's a different aura that you get in college than you do in the NFL or NBA or whatever. And I think we're on the verge of definitely losing that. Especially, you have these bigger conferences, the way all these things are happening with the NIL and transfer portal. You never know who's on your team anymore. You don't get to know any of these players. It's just faceless players playing on teams. Boom. And then that's it. I'm not saying we need to get rid of transfers altogether either. But again, I think maybe you get one free transfer. The second time you got to sit out a year. And the third time, I don't know what, there has to be some kind of penalty or whatever. So then you don't get these certain people that, sometimes you see kids that have transferred 4 or 5 times. I get maybe 2 or 3, because sometimes that just happens. For instance, like our new quarterback, Anthony Coldre. Gosh, I'll have to hold on. I have to see his name. Calandria. Anthony Calandria. And, he started off in Virginia, right? So that's a group of 4 school. Struggled. He decided, I need to transfer. I need a new, kind of a new start, fresh start. I can think, I just kind of went brain dead there for a sec. New fresh start, a new surroundings, a new atmosphere around me, and try something new. This isn't working out here. Went to a group of 5 school, balled out, right? Earned himself a lot of accolades. And I think then him transferring like here to Nebraska back to a group of 5, those situations are a little different. That's fine. I still think, I would still think, even though we kind of benefit in this situation, that there needs to be parameters though in those situations. But I don't necessarily fault kids or guys, men, to transfer in those situations. But sometimes you'll see guys that literally have been in college football for 6 years and they're going to their 16, and it's just, they're not doing anything anywhere. They're just literally going school to school because a different school will give them more money. Those are the ones that I'm like, come on. That's just, I'm a capitalist, so hey, do what you got to do, make some money, right? But at the same time, come on. So I don't know. But anyway, I do all that ranting and shitting on NIL and transfer portal to do this. Hey, let's take a look at what Nebraska's been doing in the transfer portal the last couple days. All right. So start off. Let's go over who we know are signed to Nebraska. These are the guys that are actually fully signed, not just committed, but have signed with Nebraska and will be on the football team starting here whenever classes start January 12th. We've got linebacker Dexter Foster from Oregon State, Dwayne McDougal, safety from San Diego State, Anthony Colandria, the quarterback, transferring here from UNLV, and Sri Babalade from South Carolina. I think we also have, there we go, Brendan Black, offensive guard from Iowa State, Owen Chambliss, middle linebacker again from San Diego State, and Will Hawthorne, a linebacker from Iowa State. I guess you could kind of throw these guys also in that grouping, because they have announced that they have withdrawn their name from the portal and will be returning to Nebraska. And that is both defensive backs, Larry Tarver and Braylon Prude. Um, some of the guys that have left, just a little bit of track on where they might have gone. We got Jason Machachak going to Wyoming. I think that should be a good spot for him. I think he's originally from South Dakota. Kind of, so a little bit closer to that area. I think he should do pretty good there. It'll be interesting to see where Willis McGahee goes. I would assume probably a Florida school. Um, Jalen George found himself a home actually pretty quick at Tulsa. Keona Davis, which I don't know how true this is, but I've heard a little bit of rumblings that he might also withdraw his name again. So if we got him back, I think that'd be kind of cool. Again, we've still lost Bryce Turner, Houston, Kiana Torres, Dylan Parrott, Ramir Stewart. A lot of these are a little bit old. Roger Gradney, Tristan Ovano, Marcus Davila, Maverick Noonan, Preston Okafor, Malcolm Hartzog, Dylan Raiola, Jamarion Parker, and Caden Vermas. Again, looks like I know Nebraska is bringing in let's see. No, I don't think that's how I want to go. All right. We'll stop. All right. So I know they brought in a couple guys like long snappers. Apparently, like even the number one long snapper in the portal right now. God, blanking on his name. I want to say it's like something Wilkes or Willis, something like that. So hopefully that'll be good. They're still waiting on it to hear if Kevin Gaelic could get that extra year. If they're already bringing in guys, this would be the second long snapper that they're bringing in. I would assume they don't feel great about Gaelic getting the next year. They brought in something Clausen from Iowa State earlier, and looks like I'm not sure where he's going to go, but he would just be 1 year. This other guy that they're bringing in, I think it's today or tomorrow. He's got 3 years, so I would assume they're probably going to go after that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do to go after another quarterback, because I would assume they're going to go after at least one more just to get more numbers into the quarterback room. I know Quasi Gilmer, UCLA's top wide receiver. They feel pretty good and confident about getting him in. I've seen some crystal balls go out for him. A bunch of crystal balls have also gone out to another UCLA player, their edge rusher, Anthony Jones. Earlier today, we did lose out on the defensive tackle from Kansas State. I can't remember where he ended up signing now off the top of my head, but he did not sign with Nebraska. He decided to go somewhere else. So, right now, the two biggest needs that I felt we needed for a while was defensive line and running back. And we have not been having any luck really with the defensive line. If we do end up with Anthony Jones, he is an edge guy. So that'd be one piece. But we need, I think we actually have some good guys to be on the edge once they develop, like a Williams Nwaneri. If a Keona Davis comes back, he would have been one of those guys I think could be a really good edge guy. It's just we need them. We need like that big 320-pound defensive tackle. We need one of those guys, one or two of those guys. And right now with no defensive line coach, I don't know where we're at with that, what's going on. And then you look at running back. You would think we could have waved around like, hey, you want to come over here? Because we just had an All-American running back in Emmett Johnson. You want to come be one of those guys? Come to Nebraska. And like we haven't even brought anybody in to visit. And now Cam Edwards, who is a guy that, played under EJ Barthel at UConn, committed to Michigan State today. Now I was watching Husker Online earlier, and it sounded like, um, you know, they were at least under the belief that there's a possibility that the reason why you haven't heard anything about the running back situation is they already have their running back. He just hasn't entered the portal yet because his team is still playing in the playoffs. And that running back would be Chamar Brown. Of course, Nebraska just missed out on him last year, but Chamar's wanted to be the showcase back. And in Miami, it's not going to happen. He's always going to be part of a 3-man running back group. So maybe they could lure him back and actually sign with Nebraska, but you got to wait until the season's done for him. So who knows? Maybe they're still looking at somebody like a Mekhi Frazier. I have zero clue on what they're doing with running back because there's no way. And look, I even said it. I thought Mekhi Nelson looked really good in the bowl game. And even though he looked really good and very fast and physical and like really showcased some of his skills, I still don't think like he's the guy that's going to be your like Bill Cow. He's not going to be your Emmett Johnson. I just don't see that. Not only that, I don't think having another year like they had this year with their running back situation is sustainable. I'm not a guy that thinks that you need to have a running back by committee, but you need to have like I always would much rather have like a 2-back system. Yes, you've got your clear number one, but then you have a secondary back that usually is complementary, can do different things, and can get you different, help you out in different situations. So, you always had your Thunder and Lightning. You had your Reggie Bush, right? There was no doubt Reggie Bush was the main running back. But Lindale White was still pretty damn good, right? Even all the years back in Nebraska. Yes. Lawrence Phillips was the number one guy, but you always had Clinton Childs or Damon Benning or Amon Green. Once he was a freshman under, Amon, he was pretty much the main running back. But again, you still had Damon for a couple years. Darren Diedrich, Burrell Buckholder, those guys. So, I just always feel like you need to have a good running back room because guys can always get hurt too. So you just don't want to rely on one guy. That one guy gets hurt and you're going to people that you don't necessarily believe in as much, that can make the rest of your season suffer just because you didn't want to put the people in that room. Another thing that I think that they should go after is a tight end. I'd like to see them go get one more tight end. I think Luke Lindemeyer is for sure your starter. I think he's a really good tight end. The question mark is still Carter Nelson. He had a big injury last year. I think he also has to deal with an offseason surgery again this year. And they haven't really found a way to use him yet. Who else do you really have now? Because Harburg's gone. So who else do you really have that's going to be a complimentary tight end? You can't just run with one tight end either. So it's going to be interesting to see. I hope they go after a tight end. Then you go after some more defensive linemen. Getting Tarver and Brandon Prude back maybe solidifies a little bit more than what you thought in that secondary. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the rest of this portal. I don't know. I hope they do. I hope they get some guys in. I hope they get another offensive lineman in. I would really like to see that. Like I said, running back, probably backup quarterback. Hopefully they'll get in this long snapper. But we'll see. I think by the end of this week, you'll see another kind of wave of visitors, and we'll see what we get out of those mountains. But I do think that this is a transfer class. They need to bring in about 12 to 15 people. And right now, I think we're sitting at 7. So, again, we'll just have to see what happens going through all of that. Again, with the quarterback, the Anthony Caldera or Calandria, God, gonna take me a little bit. Like I can remember his name, but for some reason, I always want to say it wrong. But anyway, I almost personally think we did fall into a better quarterback situation. This guy is a true dual threat. This guy can run. This guy, and he's just got something about him, man. He's got some fieriness. You watch some clips on him. Dude is always like up, getting people hyped. He's a big, just very animated guy. And I think that's something that Nebraska kind of needs. Not only that, I think this is something that Nebraska needs to get back to is being a team that has a dual threat quarterback that can run and throw, and not a dual threat is like what we usually see with like a um, Taylor Martinez, where the throwing was so hard to watch. But hey, that dude could freaking run, or anything like that. I think we need to see. I want to see a quarterback in Nebraska that's a more true dual threat, like we used to see from a Johnny Manziel or a Cam Newton, a Lamar Jackson, like a legit dual threat. Because I think that would be perfect in Nebraska. It just kind of blends a little bit of our history with maybe some new age football. I just think it's gonna be good. So I'm excited to see what he's gonna do for Nebraska. Still hate kind of the optics and how the whole Minchie thing went down. Kind of makes this look bad, but um, it is what it is. Got to move on. And like I said, I think we kind of fell into a better situation with our quarterback. Um, so of course tomorrow night begins the final four, if you will, of the college football playoff. Um, should be an interesting uh, couple nights of football. If I were to have my pick, I would say I think the most interesting game for the finals for the national championship would be Indiana versus Miami. I don't know why. I just feel like just seeing those two go at it would be very interesting. It's very fresh, different, but also like you're kind of seeing the old school team kind of come back to dominance, and then you have a team that's never been anywhere in college football all of a sudden in the national championship. Plus, I think the styles kind of work well, but also kind of clash. I don't know. I just think that would be the most interesting. But there is a part of me, as much as I don't want to see the SEC get to the national championship game or win it, the whole Lane Kiffin thing, him leaving and then Ole Miss still makes it to the national championship, I think it'd be hilarious. Um, but yeah, so those would be my picks. It'd be Miami and Indiana. But again, I think I've talked about this many times, but the calendar for college football, again, to make any of the stuff work, the transfer portal, the NIL stuff, all this stuff, the playoffs, for this to work, okay, and all makes sense. And I think give the fans and give everybody the best product possible, because we need to start the season earlier, whether it's 1 or 2 weeks earlier. Um, I've mentioned this before. Get all conferences on the same schedule. Your first 3 weeks are non-conference, and then starting week 4, you have everybody plays a 9-game in conference schedule. Everybody, and that all starts on the same day. We don't have any preseason polls. The first poll can come out week 4 or week 5, and those are your college football playoff rankings, and those are the only rankings that matter. So those are going to be the only rankings that will ever come out. Play all the way through. Thanksgiving weekend should be your conference championship games if you keep those around. If you don't keep those around, then I believe you need to go to a 10-game season, 10-game conference season, and make that last game an extra game. Then you start the very next week, round 1 of the playoffs. And then you play every game every week. You play one, your playoffs are every weekend. No taking 2 weeks off here, a week and a half off there. Because look what happened. And the first 2 rounds need to both be at on site, not at bowl games. They need to be on campus. And then national championship game ends on January 1st. And I saw Joe Klatt bring this up, so I'm not going to sit here and try to take this as like my idea or play it off like that. He mentioned, NFL's got the Super Bowl, right? You got the World Series. You've got all these things. What does college football have, right? You just play to the national championship. Well, everybody has a national championship in college. He thinks that the national championship every year should be played at the Rose Bowl. So you're not playing for the national championship. You're going to be playing for the Rose Bowl. And I like that idea. Everybody's playing for the Rose Bowl. It's such a historic stadium. It's got a beautiful setting. I think it's a great idea. They always want to play it at that certain time, so it's never going to be like a super late at night game. You play that game January 1st. You're going to mostly always get good weather out there in LA. And then the season's done January 1st. January 2nd, portal opens. Portal opens until January 16th. Right? And then it closes. Now, everybody can start making their deal there. Right? If you want it that bad. Or, because I personally don't necessarily care about, again, I don't necessarily care about getting these kids on campus for the winter conditioning and spring game. Because you know what? They're transfers. You shouldn't be basing this whole new season on your transfers coming in. Right? Again, something that could help deter all these transfers for no reason would be the transfer portal actually doesn't open up until after spring ball. So therefore, now you're not rushing to get coaching changes done, fill spots, do all that stuff while the season's still going. All that stuff can basically happen after January 1st. After that, now there's no rush. You can get through spring ball, and then after spring ball, now kids can transfer in and out. They can be in for fall semester, and away you go. So I think that's kind of how I would reset the college calendar, if you will. Golly. Sorry about that. My throat just keeps getting dry. Anyway, so that's what I would do to change up the college calendar to make it beneficial for everybody involved, the players, the coaches, the fans, to get the best product on the field. I think that is just what I would do. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Does my calendar for the college football thing suck? Do my ideas for this suck? Do you love them? I would love to know if you love them. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please tell your friends, share the video. Let them know that Big Red Nation is open for anybody and everybody. So until the next video, guys, go Big Red forever.